Hey everybody, welcome to A Different Kind of Hex. So we're a podcast about interrogating the player experience in tabletop role-playing games. So how do we take charge of our own fun, empower ourselves as players, develop as players, become better players for our peers? And we host this podcast in conjunction with the Open Hearth Gaming Community and often have guests from that gaming community. When we started this podcast at the beginning of the year, throughout the first episodes, the topic of improvisation came up. Our guests would mention it, we would talk about it a little bit. And on our Discord, a lot of people were saying, oh, Ian, José, please talk more about improv. And we were like, oh yeah, let's talk about improv, but we're going to need a few episodes for that, right? And how do we even start this? And then I remembered reading a book called Improv for Gamers. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to have the author, Karen Twells, come on and speak with us? And I kind of cold emailed Karen, and she was so gracious as to agree to be with us. So I want to welcome Karen Twells. Thank you for coming on the show, Karen.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I feel like I want to jump out, be like, I'm here. Haha.
She's lurking. She won't be lurking for long. She's going to be speaking with us. So Karen is an editor, and she's worked on gaming titles such as Blades in the Dark, Candela Obscura, Dialect, and Fiasco. She's also an improviser, a performer, and an instructor for over 15 years. And as I said, she wrote Improv for Gamers, which was published by Evil Hat. And she still occasionally teaches improv workshops at game conventions. I'm sure that has some interesting stories connected to it that we might want to mine.
More importantly, for our purposes, it seems like you, doing some quick back of the envelope math here, play a hell of a lot of games.
I mean, yeah, but one at a time.
One at a time.
I don't know. I feel like there was a time when I went to more conventions, and our friendly local game store here in Oakland was here, RIP Endgame, and used to do things much more monthly. So I think there was a time where I was playing a hell of a lot of games frequently, and now I'm kind of just playing one or two games at a time for a while, slowly.
Moderation. Yay.
Yeah.
Who thought?
Imagine
a moderation in our hobby. Gosh. Thank you. You are a role model, Karen.
Yeah. I'm lazy. That's the key.
I think I recently had to cut back in my schedule down to a meager sum of about 3 games in a week.
Yeah.
From like 7 or 8.
Dang.
Oh my gosh.
Wait,
Yeah.
8's 2. That's 2 a day. That's more than one a day. Ian.
There were 2 days that I was doing 2 in a day.
Oh no.
And working full time at a restaurant. And
Oh
so,
my gosh. That sounds like living the dream. And also, like, when do you sleep?
That's the funny part.
Guys, you're not going to believe this. The key to success.
Just don't sleep.
Just don't sleep.
Well, that's a nice segue into our opening segment that we always open the show with, which is What's Your Poison? Where we ask our guest just to talk about what are you excited about in games? Where you are right now? What kind of games are you playing? And also kind of tell us about your gaming style. If someone were to describe it, what are the kinds of things that you like to do in games?
Oh, gosh, that's so many questions.
I know, it's too many. Sorry.
I'll try to take one at a time. Let's see. So the thing is I feel like there was a time where I was really into games about just like emo porn, like just emotional suffering. I was like, yeah, fuck me up emotionally. And those games are great, but like Monster Hearts, which is all about like the messy lives of teenage monsters. I love that game so much, and I played so much of it. And at a certain point, I think maybe 10 years ago or so, I was like, actually, I kind of just want games where I like myself. And I think I need to like maybe pull back of these games of like being too fraught because I want to have fun with my hobby, and this is actually like making me feel bad. Like maybe I don't need games with emotional bleed every single time, you know? And so I went more into like heist games. And I mean, I've always liked games about getting into trouble and about games where characters are making big, dangerous choices. I do play some campaigns, but often it's more mini campaigns, and I don't have a lot of need to like protect this character. So it's really okay if they get into trouble and it ends badly for them, because I only have them for a limited amount of time. So
well, you and I are going to get along, Karen, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, but, you know, just like going back and still taking that from like Monster Hearts, that's something that Avery Alder would say, which is, you know, you should play your character like you're driving a stolen car. I want to say, is that correct? I hope
that's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, that applies across the board. I think I am currently much more of a fan of heist stories about just like smart people taking advantage of rich assholes. Go figure. That's my jam right now. So I'm in a playtest of Blades 68, which is a setting for Blades in the Dark. Blades in the Dark by John Harper is a great game about kind of a haunted Victorian technology-esque city where you're a group of up-and-coming scoundrels. Blades 68, which is coming out next year, is set 100 years in the future. And so now it's the swinging 60s of this world. And instead of ghosts, there's more like weird science. So it's a really fun game, and you're still criminals. You're still kind of in this city where you have to really like scramble for your own. But it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot more groovy. So it's a different tone, but it's a super fun game. So I'm loving that right now. And I'm also just a fan of games about friendship, which I guess you would put often in like the umbrella of cozy games.
Yeah.
So BFF, which is from Heart of the Deernicorn, is a great game about just middle school girls being friends in a delightful way. And the upcoming sequel, The Golden Years, is about retirees and senior citizen women. And it's so fun and delightful, and a low stakes game. So I also enjoy that. It just feels nice.
A little slice of life. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds lovely. Yeah.
I have also been going back and reliving some of those games from the aughts that just out of nostalgia, because that was just like when I started playing a lot of indie games, and just, you know, my world was just kind of opening up with that, starting with like Fate and Fiasco. But we've been playing some other games that like made a big splash, but maybe not everybody knows about them anymore. Like Polaris, which has a very interesting way of this very almost kind of like scripted dance of phrases to say to resolve conflict. And Dogs in the Vineyard, which is an amazing game. It's no longer for sale for very good reasons. We hacked it to a more like modern comedic setting, but it has a really cool mechanic just for like kind of having almost like a battle of wits with other people. And the more you raise the stakes, the more the potential fallout could be. But you get experience from fallout, so it's like good and bad. The Mountain Witch and Kagematsu are both games kind of set in a feudal Japan style setting that are really fun. The Mountain Witch has really cool betrayal mechanics, and Kagematsu goes into a lot of like gender roles. So all of these games, or not all of these games, but like a lot of games from the aughts were really excited about one thing. And so it's been really fun to look back and be like, what was the one thing that this game was really driving in our gameplay? And how is that working now? Like, now that we've all been playing, for another 20 years, like, are we still doing this? So I don't know. As game designer nerds, we've been having fun, picking it apart, but also like reliving the nostalgia of playing these games.
Polaris is the rare game that I read front to back in one go.
Oh, wow.
Because I just thought it was so interesting.
Yeah.
I've never played it. I have never played it. I just think it's like a fascinating game. And I remember reading it and thinking that it reminded me a lot of another John Harper game. John Harper, come on, a different kind of hex. Aegon, which has the same kind of like specific phrases that you use to like open the conflict. Just that idea of like the kind of ritual of language is really fascinating to me. Sorry, Jose, I cut you off.
No. I'm glad to hear it. I don't know that game now. Something else to put on my reading list and on my nightstand. It grows and grows.
It
grows and grows. In terms of your play style, we sometimes ask people like, do you remember a moment where you realized something important about your play style and some experience that you had at the table?
Yeah, I was in a Fiasco game, which is a Jason Morningstar game, and the easiest tagline is it's like you're playing in a Coen Brothers movie. And then the tagline of the game is stories about people with powerful ambition and poor impulse control. So very fun. This was easily over a decade ago. And I just remember it wasn't even a scene that I was in, but it was a scene that my friend Mia and my now husband Sean were having. And I don't know if there was a fourth player or if it was just the three of us playing Fiasco, but there was this whole love triangle thing going on with our characters. And my character discovered that Sean's character had been sleeping around with Mia's character. And I said something like, you've been making love. It was like set in a small southern town. You've been making love with my best friend, Bella Sue. And he said, oh no, it wasn't loving. It was hating. I was like, that is just the best. I love complex relationships. And
I was going to say, I love that Lucinda Williams song.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was just this amazing, moment for me to be like, I really love stories where the characters have very complex relationships. And that makes things very interesting for me when there's a lot of interpersonal stuff going on, even in, a dungeon crawl. It's like, it's very fun to have cool relationship stuff happening. And to speak to that, like, I really prefer having in some type of combat or something, like I prefer teamwork maneuvers and things just over kind of turn taking where you just kind of wait. It's a lot more fun where you do setup actions and assistance and things like that. Right. I like having role play just for funsies, just to have a little conversation with these two characters in character, because I'm an improviser and I can't help myself. And I like that much more than role playing with NPCs. And that game just made me realize, like, I love when the relationships are messy.
Yeah.
Jose and I are currently playing Apocalypse Keys together. We are both playing in Apocalypse Keys. Are you familiar with this game, Karen?
Uh-huh.
And we have just the most codependent band of freaks.
Monsters. We're monsters.
Yeah.
Entire episodes will go by and the GM's just like, I'll just let you guys.
Yeah.
I'll just keep giving you guys rope here. Like,
Right.
Maybe we'll have to have you come on as a guest sometime.
Yeah.
To meet the monsters, the codependent monsters.
I haven't
Doesn't that
played
sound like fun?
I have not played it. So, for sure.
It's teaching me some things about what my my poison is.
Oh, right. The poison for Cusco. The poison chosen specially to kill Cusco. Cusco's poison. That poison?
Yes, that poison.
Yeah, it definitely leans into the kind of thing that you were saying in that moment that you were recalling from Fiasco. The kind of complicated kind of emotional dynamics between individuals. So the game really does invite that really mechanically and also in all its writing. And so I think it really encourages you to be monsters, grappling with your humanity and your monstrosity, but in relation with other people, with other PCs. Yeah. And what I heard you say was, that there's something about the PC interaction that feels really alive and exciting to you in terms of your play, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jose, what are you into recently? What's your poison these days?
What is my poison these days? I'm still digesting a session that we had of Apocalypse Keys last night. We had these scenes where all the PCs were together in the scene. There was something so collaborative of how we were dancing with one another, how offers were being made, which is one of the topics that we want to talk with Karen about, and how they were being accepted, extended. And I was really blown away by the fluidity of it all last night. I don't know exactly how it happened. Obviously, we've been playing for a little while, for a couple of months on this game. And so we know one another. But there was something about the generosity and the goodwill of all of us playing together that really impacted me. When we ended the Zoom call, because it was an online game, I just felt really good. I felt like we had created something really amazing that I could have never predicted, and that was a really good story. But more than that, it was kind of in the moment. Each creative moment felt like a little hit of poison for me. That was the poison that was I was imbibing. I don't know if it'll poison me or not, but it's really nice. And I could feel addicted to this. I think I've asked myself over the years of playing these games, like when I first started in more traditional games, I would often say, oh, well, I only really get a nice juicy hit, maybe, 5% of the time. And I feel kind of like it's a drudgery the rest of the game, and I'm just holding out for that 5% of time. But last night it felt like it was 100% of the time, and I didn't even know that was possible. That would happen. That could happen. And I'm aware in speaking of it right now that I'm absolutely not in control. I can't make that happen. I can only show up for it and do my best. But sometimes I'm just going to be blessed with the synergy that creates this kind of, these kinds of moments. And so I think that's my poison right now, Ian. Just trying to unpack that a little bit. Yeah.
Ian, you said you're finally down to 3 games a day. Sorry, 3 games a week.
Three square games a day. That's right.
Yeah. 3 packs a day. What are you playing right now?
Well, it's funny that you should ask, because I'm getting, just like Jose, I'm kind of getting my narrative gaming fix on Monday nights. On Monday afternoons, I'm running a very, very stripped back version of a kind of D20 fantasy for my coworkers who have never played any games at all before.
Oh, wow. This
is their first experience, and we're just doing silly kind of slapstick, kick in the door, dungeon crawling stuff. And that's really fun for me because I get to just play a lot of weirdos. And it's just kind of, what strange situation is going to come up next, and there's almost no continuity between them. That's great. And I'm also running, I don't know how much of this I'm going to keep in because you might listen to this, but I'm running a game for real life friends of mine on the West Coast. I'm also a Californian originally. I'm running a game of Lancer for my friends on the West Coast, which is this sort of giant mecha. It's sort of veering a little bit into miniatures wargaming, like kind of where positioning and tactics and your loadout and your character's build are very important. So 3 very, very different experiences, and 2 of those experiences with people for whom this isn't like their main thing, for whom, in a lot of ways, gaming is almost more of a pretext to hang out than it is to like do the thing, which I'm not detracting from. But as we're going to start talking about offers, which is like such a bread and butter, it's something you're doing constantly in any game that you're playing.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I have really been thinking about this a lot because I've been going right to the root of where does this volition as a player stem from? How do you even, when José was talking about the kind of high concept of the show earlier, I was thinking to myself, there was a time where I didn't even consider that a player was something that you could be good at. And so how do you develop the desire to like want to accomplish something as a player, to want to affect the world in that way, as opposed to kind of going through it on a, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride theme park attraction. So I mean, just to kind of tie off the conversation, the topic here a little bit, I think my poison these days is getting to kind of roll hop a little bit. The scene that José was talking about last night, I got to play a kind of bizarro version of my normal main character. A sort of ineffable manifestation of death who just happened to be wearing the player character's face.
Right.
And so I got to
as you do. We've all seen that.
Well, we've all been there. Who among us, I got to play a very, very different version of this character, and it really was a nonverbal offer that I should do it. Or I think somebody said, like, wouldn't it be funny if the death had this face? And I didn't need to be asked explicitly. I just said, I'm there, I'll do it. And being able to kind of shift fluidly in that way, in the way that you might play in a game like Fiasco, where sometimes you come into play like a bit part, a classic Coen's, like their casting director always finds just the most amazing looking people. Just real character actor faces. It's really fun for me to get to kind of move around and play different parts. In some ways, kind of coming at the classic like canard of I'm the forever GM, and I want to be a player so bad I'm just going to create a GM PC. But kind of coming at the same idea from the other direction and being like, oh, as the player, I can just do this. The game allows me. Like, I'm going to just step into this role, and that's the offer that I'm making to the table, I guess.
He's right. Ain't no rules so the dog can't play basketball.
Well, maybe that's our segue into talking about offers.
Just 37 minutes into the recording.
We're doing great, guys.
We're doing great.
We're going to trim this up. We're going to tighten it up.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be wonderful, yeah.
Karen.
Yes.
Who better to go to than the source on these
Oh
matters?
No.
Can you describe for us what is an offer?
Sure. So, like, in improv, when we talk about an offer, I like to talk about it as the gift of information. And an offer is an idea that you are offering to another person of, do you like this idea? Would you like to play with this idea? Will you accept this gift that I'm giving you? And an offer is literally any idea that you have, because anything that you say and are putting forth to the story is potentially what's going to happen. So when you start thinking about like everything's an offer, it's any type of new information.
Anything that you're establishing anew that hasn't already been, or even just recontextualizing, I suppose.
Yeah. I think when we're getting into the topic of like improv and gaming and like how to have a good time, I think it's so important just right at the top to say that like we can only have this conversation if we're assuming that all the players have good intentions. Mm-hmm. Because if we're going to constantly be proposing like hypotheticals about like, oh, but what if this person acts in bad faith? Like, it's going to derail this.
Yeah.
Like, we can't get anywhere. So like we have to just assume that everybody in these hypothetical situations is somebody that you actually want to be playing with.
Yeah.
And it only works if everybody has buy-in and everybody's on board. So just to kind of like put that at the top, all of this falls apart if people aren't playing the same game.
Yeah.
You know, like if they're not kind of abiding by the same social contracts.
That seems so important.
Yeah.
To have that goodwill, really, and that being on the same page. But I wonder if there's also another dimension to that. Mm-hmm. One of the things that one of the themes that we return to in this podcast a lot is agency, player agency, mm-hmm. the sense or the belief or the attitude that, I can make things happen in this game. Mm-hmm. Like, I think sometimes when I'm in a game, I need to have a sense that when an offer is made, when I hear a cool idea, I can step forward. I have goodwill. Mm-hmm. You know, if we take that as a given, I have goodwill. But I also have a sense like, oh, I can step forward and respond to what Karen just put out or what Ian just put out, right? Even if it might change the world, for instance, or even if it might create a new NPC or do something, impact the game world in a way that's significant that maybe I'm not always feeling empowered to be able to do mm-hmm. in certain gaming contexts, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to, have that culture at the table of we are all excited to hear everybody's ideas. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the other half of it is, we want people to be, feeling empowered to really personalize the game experience by putting in their parts of the story and like making it their own. But people aren't going to do that if they're afraid of having their ideas shot down.
Right.
So you need to everybody needs to, again, be like assuming best intentions, be like, I'm excited to hear your idea. Mm-hmm. And then there's also the safety of like, if we need to negotiate anything about this idea, we can, and that's no big deal. The yes and rule of improv is so dangerous when all you do is stop and end with yes and, because that's mm-hmm. like, oh yeah, you have to say yes to whatever somebody else says and make it work. That's not what it means, and that is a shitty rule. No, you always have the ability to say no. Like, mm-hmm. why do we have all these great safety tools that allow us to like push the limits of the storytelling that we want if it's not built in that there's some way to negotiate and some way to say kindly, actually no, and some way to kindly hear that and respond to that no. So like, you absolutely need to have that power, because nobody has to play a game with you. Nobody has to get on stage with somebody else in improv. Don't mess it up and like take advantage of that goodwill of being in this space with these people that are like so excited to play with you.
I realize that you probably have not interacted with our specific gaming community with the Open Hearth before. Mm-hmm. The way that we do things is that we have an online calendar that people who want to facilitate games, either as a GM or kind of as a leader among, first among peers, I guess, in a GM, in a GM-less game, they'll put up a post, usually with some, a little bit of art or something, describing what the game is, giving a pitch. So people don't get into games without getting past at least one offer. You have to kind of see the blurb on the back of the DVD box for the game and say, yes, that's the kind of thing that I'm into. And usually that comes with a potential list of like, here's some content that might come up. Here's media touchstones that might be relevant here. If somebody wanted to sign up for our Apocalypse Keys game and got past the part where, it mentions Hellboy as a reference and then was like really surprised by that at the time that they got to the table. There's some things that have been missed, I think there.
Yeah, you want to have everybody has buy-in of what type of game this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so important because you don't necessarily want a game that is like too many genres at once. I've definitely been in like horror games where the GM did say like, this is a horror game. And I know that like people automatically kind of move to comedy to try to lighten the mood. But I really want to keep like the table talk and off topic jokey like to a minimum. And we were like, okay, yeah, we agree to that. And he did, every time that we started getting a little off topic or something, he'd be like, all right, let's get back to this story that we're telling, to try to keep that mood going.
It seems like one of the most crucial components of this process of an offer, whether you're making it or receiving it, is, I don't remember if we came up with this term ourselves, I'll say, or if we got it from somebody else, the step of affirming the reality that has already been put forward, either the reality of a player character or the continuity of the fiction. And so it seems like a big part of making an offer is just clocking what that reality is.
Listening.
Yeah, being able to look at Jose and say, okay, I understand where you're going with this character, or what the sort of major themes are here, so that I can kind of play into it. And in doing so to offer you something that you want, that is valuable to you.
Yeah.
Have the two of you ever encountered pitfalls when it comes to that process of registration of like what the reality, as you said before, Karen, like if you're playing two different games, it's sort of difficult to like bridge that gap. How do you tell what kind of offer would be valuable to another player? That took me a long time to say that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the other side of that coin, like, or that's the first thing that's coming up for me is like, when I'm in different games, how my listening is different. Who I'm listening to and how I'm listening and what I'm listening for in terms of offers. Like, just as an example, last night, since this is so fresh in my mind, Ian, one of the things that you did in a lot of your descriptions, you started incorporating this kind of motif of Van Gogh, Starry Night, right? And I realized that I missed that as an offer. I was enjoying you doing it, and you wove it through a number of different things that happened in the evening. And when we came to Stars and Wishes, I said, that was really cool what you did. But I didn't hear it as an offer that I could then pick up on. And now in retrospect, I'm like, oh, I could have picked up on that thematic and woven it into something that I was doing. And I know that when other people have done that, for me, it's been super cool and invigorating and exciting. But sometimes I'm not listening for thematics. I might be listening for plot, or I might be listening for characterization. Or if I'm in a particular game that's very, very kind of instrumental goals and missions and get places, I'm only listening for that kind of stuff. It's like the game's like tuning my antenna to that. And then sometimes I've had the experience of being in a game like that I just described, and I'm really pushing for character moments and making character offers and relationship offers that don't get picked up because I think people might not be attuned to those offers or hearing them as offers in those moments. So that's the first thing that comes up for me. What about for you, Karen?
I think we have to, forgive ourselves for not being able to listen to all the things at once. You can certainly practice, you can certainly try and tell yourself, I'm going to try to listen for all these things. But that's really hard. So I think it is interesting to think about, what is the type of story that we're telling here? So what are the things that maybe I should be I should be listening for, what are the types of contributions that would make the most sense with this genre. Something that I come back to again and again is, the importance of buy-in. And Ian, as you said, is try to give offers that you're pretty sure other people would want to say yes to. With the assumption that the other people at the table are excited and want to hear it and are, at least going to try to find a way to meet you halfway if it's not exactly what works for them. If you're thinking about what is something that they're going to like, and they're thinking about, I'm excited to hear what your ideas are, and how I can work with your ideas, you're kind of validating each other at the same time, which is so much more exciting than everybody just kind of only giving offers about themselves. Because an offer that someone else is going to want to say yes to is like going to be about them, probably. Probably like that's, we're the main characters in our own stories. In a game, all the PCs are all main characters, and that's a lot of spotlight to shine around. So that's going to be the easiest thing, is like, what is something that's going to validate this other character that I think is really cool for them? And then they're going to be like, well, I'm excited to hear what this idea is that you have and how to make it work and how to weave it into the story and validate, that offer. But it is hard to just kind of think about what types of offers am I giving? Yeah, to what you said, Jose, I think it really depends on the game.
I was thinking about that moment that you were referring to, Ian, earlier, about another player said, hey, what would it be like if death had the face of your PC, basically?
Yeah.
And that was an interesting moment, because in that moment, you weren't a part of that scene. Your PC wasn't in that scene. So it was the rest of the players, of the three of us, the other three players were in the scene. And so when Brushman, who was the person who did this, suggested that, he was inviting you into the scene, which you then took up immediately, right?
It's true, but I was nervous because it did feel like I was sort of taking some kind of license by breaking into a scene that I wasn't already a part of. Mm-hmm. Because it's so rare, I think, for someone to kind of come out and make a formal invitation by way of an offer. Mm-hmm. Would you like to come and do this explicit thing? Or would you like to agree on this specific aspect of the continuity? There's such a gradation in terms of what an offer can actually be, how it can actually be posed, that I was like, I don't know if I'm overstepping my bounds by appearing here like this.
Yeah, but if they're asking, if everyone's having fun, are you really playing the game wrong?
We're going to put that on our merch. Well, I'm sort of interested in, I'm following up here by saying there's a note here in our Google Doc. Mm-hmm. How, I'm asking you specifically, Karen, how do you like to make an offer? Do you like to do this from a position of immersion? Do you like to try to do it without breaking the magic circle, so to speak? Or is it better for you to sort of step back and say, as the co-creators of this fiction, what would be the best?
I think the second one for me, I'm not too precious about staying in character. And that's just also the style of the people that I play with, is we do a lot of jumping in and out to talk about things and to set up scenes. Sometimes we play a lot of GM-less scenes, so we're kind of all taking turns, like adding in what's going to start with this scene. So there's already a lot of collaboration on like making the reality. I think definitely I'm not afraid to break character. Like even in LARPs, I'll do the, fist on head and check in with people about things. Because sometimes that happens, especially in like a lot of LARPs, you have really high emotional moments. And if you didn't check in with that person before, you might want to check in and be like, is it okay if my character like raises their voice at you right now? Is that okay if I'm angry? I'm not really angry, but is it okay? Like, you know, and they might say, actually, no, I don't like being yelled at. And you're like, never mind. Or they might be like, yeah, yell at me. And you're like, doing it. I'm going. So I think it's so important to check in. I'm definitely very willing to, I'm not clinging too hard to my idea. So I'm definitely willing to negotiate on anything. And sometimes I just have half an idea and I'll say that, be like, I kind of like this, but I don't know how to make that work. Does that make sense? And I think that's another thing that I often ask is like, would it make sense for this in the scene? Like, can we, it's not like, is this too wacky? But like, can we justify this enough to like make it a reality? Or is there no way that this could actually be happening? So like in a score in Blade 68, we were trying to kidnap a guy. We were trying to kidnap a political figure and just transport him to some other crew so that they could read his mind. We weren't going to kill him.
Sure.
We're a non-lethal group. Like that's something that like we struggle with, and it's a great struggle is like trying to do all these things without actually hurting people. And so we have the scene of like this person comes into the diner that like two people are waiting for him at, and we've already set it up of like, yeah, everybody in there is like people from the community, so like they all know what's going on, like it's this whole big sting operation. And I hadn't said where I was in that moment, and I just butted in and was like, can I be in the ceiling? Can I be in the ceiling with my sniper rifle and just trank him like after line 1? Would that? And they're like, how long have you been up there? Since dawn. How about that? Since before literally anybody came in, so nobody knows I'm there. Would that make sense? And they're like, yeah. If you're willing to have been in none of the other planning meetings at all because you didn't want to even hear anything coming through your mic, and you're just waiting up there, like, yes, then that's it. Amazing.
And that's, that's you're offering up all kinds of information about who your character is.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear. We all have really clear ideas about what our characters are driven by, and like who we are versus who we want to be are very different things. Yeah, and this is a character who's very obsessed with winning. So she would inconvenience herself greatly if it meant getting the upper hand.
I'm just imagining the muscle cramps for the next.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I was thinking about too.
Yeah.
Did you get to describe those later?
Yeah, I mean, we really, you do a lot of justification, which is the other half of the yes and is making it make sense and explaining how this works. And so I had to take a lot of hindrances of like, you're stuck up there, you have limited scope, you can't see anybody else, you just have your rifle trained on this one little hole in this one little spot, and he's got to sit right there, and you can get this shot if you give up control over like almost everything else in the scene. And I was like, yes. And I made the shot and I rolled great. Everything else went wrong. Everything else went horribly wrong, which is the point. But like, I got that shot. And that was very satisfying. But I definitely, just to kind of go all the way back to the question, I'm not afraid to pose things as, would it be okay in, or would it make sense if I could do this thing?
Yeah. So like taking like a moment into writer's room.
Yeah.
Like, if we're choreographing the scene,
yeah,
does this part of it make sense? Yeah.
I think we move back and forth constantly from roleplay versus writer's room in the groups that I'm gaming with.
Yeah.
In my experience, at least with José, we are also doing that constantly. We're skimming the surface of the magic circle, so to speak. In our show so far, we've talked about the ongoing process of character creation, how to set up a scene between players, like how to do it yourselves and not wait for the GM to call one. And it's just striking me that like offers are just kind of like the protons of all of these things. When we were our very first episode with a guest, we were talking about the process of character creation and how you can avoid the sort of dreaded, a couple of spiral bound notebooks worth of backstory. Mm-hmm. Just the idea of the character being a kind of quantum probability, like wavefront that is collapsing as you are, it's collapsing into like actuality as you're going through and playing the game. And the idea that actuality can be affected by anybody making an offer is like so exciting to me. It's so exciting to me to like, I don't know who this person is. I'm playing to find out. I'm playing to learn from you about what what dirty tricks I pulled on you, or what kind of, it's so great anytime there's a game that has like as in Apocalypse Keys, that has a starting bond mechanic where a player gets to turn to another and say, I'm in love with you, but you won't accept it. Why? Mm-hmm. Because you're just starting from a position of extremely strong, extremely clear offers. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that question has so much agency for the other person, because it's not you're in love with me. It's I'm in love with you, and you have the choice of how you feel about that. So I think those types of offers are really important, is making sure that the other person always has the agency on how they feel and like what are they going to do with that information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it seems related to another topic that we put in when we were brainstorming on the Google Sheet. I think I put it down about endowing characters, other characters, or endowing the world actually is another. So when I hear that term in improv, I imagine, like, say you and I, Karen, are playing a scene together, and I say, oh, remember that time when we robbed that bank together? So at that moment, you could yes and that, say, oh yeah, I remember that, and it sucked or whatever, or it was great, and then you could move forward with it. But if it doesn't resonate with your character, you could kind of step back a little bit and say, oh, maybe let's tweak that a little bit. Maybe let's not make it a bank. Maybe let's make it a, I don't know.
Yeah.
A 7-Eleven or something.
You could go the other way and be like, you're going to have to narrow it down. There's so many banks.
Yeah. So many banks.
Which one are you talking about?
I've robbed 3 banks a day.
3 square banks a day.
Come on, boys. We're going for the record. 3 banks in 2 hours. Hold your applause and drop your drawers. I'm George Nelson, and I'm here to set the city eat a bean.
But I think the reason that I bring it up is, you were saying a moment ago, Karen, that, it's important for each player to have agency over who their character is and how they, I think you said how they feel about an offer or a situation, right? In that case, in the example I gave, maybe we don't know that you robbed all these banks, or that you robbed any banks when I say that. And I say, oh, remember when we robbed that bank together? In that case, I'm endowing your character, or at least giving the offer that your character robbed banks.
Yeah, and
right?
Endowing is a type of offer.
Is a type of offer. Yeah. I think sometimes I get kind of inhibited around doing those kinds of offers in games as a player, because I feel like each player should have kind of complete control over their backstory or who they are,
Yeah. I mean, they do, because they can say no.
Right, of course.
They could say, like, oh, actually, my character has a squeaky clean record. That's really important. Can we make it something that actually wasn't a crime? But maybe my character thought it was really, really bad. Like, you can you can break it down so you can think about, like, what is the important thing that this person wants? They want to have a shared experience with my character. So what is a different shared experience that we could have that still scratches that itch of remember when we got in trouble together? So
you're listening underneath the offer for kind of a thread within it. Like,
I
remember that time we got in trouble together.
Exactly.
Right? And then you're like, okay, how can I address that even if I don't really feel so good about the bank or the crime part of it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I think And maybe I'm just getting old and curmudgeonly, but like it's not that serious. We're sitting around playing pretend, you guys. Like we may as well be all talking about what color our mermaid tails are. Like, and that's fun. There shouldn't be any reason, aside from something that is like very potentially upsetting, for you to need to sit and be like, do I like that idea? Is that the best idea? Does that idea of robbing banks with that other character like speak to my soul? Like for me, I'm like, oh my God, thank God I didn't have to think of an idea.
Right.
Because I definitely want to find some reason why we know each other and care about each other and have a shared history. So that's great. Now I don't have to worry about it. Like, let's just go with that. That was, first idea, best idea.
Good enough, right?
Yeah. Like, what do I get from debating this unless it's really important to me?
Yeah, unless it's character defining in some way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like in most cases, it's really not.
When we set out to make these episodes, we usually post in our community Discord that we're going to do so, and we give the opportunity for anybody who is interested to like pose some questions that they'd like for us to talk about. And regular listener Danny, hey Danny, asks us, and I think this is related. Danny says, it feels like there is some tension between, quote, say the obvious thing, say the first idea, best idea, and sometimes the obvious thing isn't something that goes anywhere, or isn't something that's going to, I guess in my phrasing, I would say, isn't going to be generative of its own hooks and offers down the line. Danny says, sometimes this feels like a letdown or a lost opportunity. It feels like it's in conversation with making / accepting explicit or implicit offers, because of course sometimes you're not coming out and saying, here's my offer, would you like to take it? Trade offer. I receive collaboratively creating a consistent fiction and knowing when and how to edit scenes. So this sort of tension between just saying something to keep the game or the fiction moving along and wanting to like hold out. It sounds like I'm resonating with this question. I sometimes do have the feeling of like, I want to hold out until I have the best idea, or an idea that's like purpose built for this scenario. How long are you comfortable letting an offer cook before you?
Not that long, me personally, because we're not actually in a writer's room. Like, what are we writing? We're not playing this later. So
we're playing it now. Yeah.
We're playing it now. So like, let's do the most now. And it doesn't actually always have to be the best idea. I think there's so much advice in improv that contradicts each other because it depends so much on the context of what type of scene are you trying to have. So when you have advice like dare to be dull and make the obvious choice, the lesson behind that is like, don't try so hard to be funny. Don't try so hard to be interesting. Don't sit there worrying about like, what is the best possible choice? Because in all that time, your scene partner is just waiting for you.
Waiting for you.
A whole audience is just waiting for you right there. Like, what are you doing? You don't have time. So that advice is just encouraging you to like, it really doesn't have to be the most exciting thing. And you don't want to try so hard to be funny because the audience knows when you're trying and it never works. It never works. You're not telling jokes. So the funny comes from the surprise of not expecting and then things falling into place in a way that you could not have planned it and scripted it. But on the other side of Dare to be Dull, there's the advice of like, don't do the same scene we've seen 1,000 times. So if you have the example that I thought of is like, if your tooth hurts, you probably have a cavity. Like, we don't need to think up what's the most unique reason why my tooth would hurt. Unless something came to mind super quick, then go with that. But if you're like, I can't think of it, probably I have a cavity. But we don't need to have another scene of dentist patient. Oh my God. Like the top suggestions you get when you ask for a relationship as a suggestion. Can we get a suggestion? Relationship between two people. You get doctor, patient, dentist, specifically dentist office for a location. Cousins? Always cousins. Like, what do you think is meaty there? Like, do you have a fraught relationship with your cousin?
Sounds like it.
Sounds like it. Like, I'm chill with all mine. Like, we get along great, but we don't talk every day. So when you have something like that, where it's like, we've done that scene, then you want to be like, how can I twist that into something that we haven't done? Because you want to give, what is it that Brian O'Connell says is give the audience what they want, but not in the way that they'd expect.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so you see how none of that advice like totally works all the time at the same time. It's like directly in opposition. It's on context. So yeah, we always have a little bit of time at the game to take things slow and pause. That's what's great about gaming is you don't have to rush through and be like, well, that was said out loud, so it must be true. You can negotiate, which is great. You can edit it, which is fantastic. We have all these safety tools to like collaboration tools and to help figure out if you're not comfortable doing that and you don't quite know what the language is. We have these kind of prescribed tools and patterns that you can use. So I don't have a good answer, I guess, at the end of the day.
Maybe it's a little bit trite, but the saying of luck is a part of skill. Mm-hmm. Like you have to be able to capitalize on a lucky break when it comes along. You have to have the goods to be able to make use of that opportunity. But I'm going to sort of reframe it here, which is that like great play and great moments in play seem like they are the product of iteration, but especially motion. Mm-hmm. Is that you have to be up to speed already by the time it's time to take that off ramp to go take the offer and go somewhere. You have to be like moving, and you have to be getting through some. You call it like the pancake theory of offers or something. Like the first couple pancakes are always kind of duds, and it's okay for there to be some offers made or accepted that are less than 100% thrilling.
Yeah, because again, we're not trying to be perfect. We're just trying to have fun. This is like, I yell this sometimes when like I feel like people are taking things a little bit too seriously. It's like, isn't this supposed to be like our pastime?
One thing that occurs to me when you were talking, Karen, about, we've done it before. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I feel the pressure of improv in the moment is kind of scary.
It's terrifying.
I have to make something up really fast. Yeah. And so sometimes it does come out and that's great. But what I was thinking about when you were talking about, we've done it before is, say we're in a game that's meeting, say over a period of time, I can realize, I've had 2 or 3 interactions with Ian's character where we've really explored the same dynamic. Mm-hmm. I can think before the session comes, what would be an interesting way to twist that dynamic? Mm-hmm. So I don't have to come up with it right then in the moment, but I can have it in my back pocket in case it feels like it makes sense at some point. And to relieve some of the pressure, sometimes I feel like I've got to come up with everything on the spot in improv.
That's not cheating. GMs do that. GMs plan everything. We talk about the term like improv GM, but I feel like that's more just like a GM that can think on their feet and maybe lightly plans. But it's not cheating to script stuff out. It's not cheating to think about like what would be interesting for these characters. Mm-hmm. And if you like take joy in thinking about those things.
Yeah, it's fun.
Some of my favorite stuff is just to see how plans get distorted.
Yeah. And
not in a bad way, but just like, you're heating up the glass of the plan, and what shape is it going to take when it's been blown is really, it's a really cool thing for me to see play out.
Yeah. I like how you said that, because it's like, you can't control your offer once the other person kind of has it. You can only control it like you had this idea, but like what they do with it is now it's a shared thing. So yeah, I love having part of an idea and seeing what someone's going to do with it. I would be so delighted if I started a game and someone sat down and was like, I was thinking about a cool scene for our characters. I'm like, oh my god, thank you for doing that work. I don't have to think about it. That sounds great. Like, I'm excited that you're excited and I get to be in it.
Yeah, like when they talk about being a fan of the other person's characters,
Yeah.
that's a kind of fandom. I'm writing fan fiction
Yeah, that's,
in between sessions
that's
about your
delightful.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jose and I often return to this sort of visual metaphor of social dancing as a kind of a parallel for gaming. It's something that you can do for fun, but it's something you can also practice and get better at over time.
Yeah.
And it's also a process of constant offers
Yeah.
being made and being received. I think that as I am just getting back into this hobby with like Lindy Hop and salsa and so on, I'm being reminded that like the more advanced and the more skilled you get in this, pastime, the more and more the divide between the lead, who is often traditionally making the offers, and the follow, who's traditionally receiving and interpreting the offers, the more and more that line becomes not even so much blurred, but just like erased.
Yeah. And the better both sides get at it, the more it looks like it was choreographed.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing about like when everyone's in sync with a game, it's almost like we scripted it. When improv is so good that people are like, there's no way you made that up. You must have planned that. That is the pinnacle.
Yeah, and that's a high bar, but it's nice to see it when it happens.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
But we won't have it every time. But when it happens, it's fun to be a part of. Yeah. I wanted to go back to something in Danny's question at the very tail end of Danny's question. Was something about editing scenes. And I did want to go back to that particular kind of player agency of knowing when to end a scene, if I'm in a scene with you, when to close the curtain, or to cut away and say, oh, maybe we should cut away to Ian and somebody else. Because it's sometimes that kind of management is frequently something that I think sometimes we expect of the GM
Yeah.
to do. But how do we as players feel into that to know, like, oh, because sometimes I'll say that this seems like a good place to stop the scene, but I'm not always sure how I come to that feeling, but I'm glad I can express it with some people and take charge of that. But sometimes I'm watching my fellow players, and this is true confessions, and I'm like, oh wow, that scene really needs to be cut there. But I can't, as a player, do anything, right?
That's the most painful.
If I were the GM,
that's the most painful thing in
painful,
improv,
right?
when you're watching it and you're just like, please edit the scene, please, for God's sake, please, someone edit the scene.
Someone edit the scene.
I don't like the reality I am existing in at this moment, which is being here witnessing this.
Every moment I live is agony.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different reasons why you would edit a scene. In improv, you might want to edit it on a cliffhanger. You might just want to edit it on a laugh. You might want to edit it as soon as you figure out what the character's deal is, and you're like, cool, we've seen it, we've got it, let's go to the next thing. It depends on what type of format you're doing. Because different ones, some are going to say, like, let the scene breathe and have a 4-minute scene where you just figure it out and you have silent object workspace. I love that stuff. But also you could have scenes where it's like, no, these scenes should be under, they should be under 2 minutes. They should be a minute and a half. They should be literally 1 minute. They should be one line long. And so that just depends on what you're going for. So I think you need to think about, like, what is the objective of this scene? And as soon as you hit that objective, is there really anything else to add to it?
Yeah.
Because we go off sometimes, just like our characters just having little bickering fights or having conversations, and we realize, like, we're just having fun, just chewing the scenery and being two characters vibing. We can end this. We're good. We're just playing the same note again and again because we really like it, but like we can go back to what we're doing now. Right.
There's nothing new coming up.
Yeah.
Right? But when you said something there that just reminded me of a painful moment. I was in a scene.
You can titrate that if you want, Jose.
Titrate that. I was in a scene with another character, and the GM suddenly interrupted with the question, "What are you trying to do?" And I found it kind of jarring.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes my objective isn't absolutely clear. I'm coming in with an idea of what I might like to do. I want to have a scene with you and kind of explore this rivalry we have about, work or something. And I don't really know where that's going to go or when that'll be complete or when it'll be nice to cut away to something else.
And it's difficult to be economical if you don't know exactly where you're going.
Yeah, you got to talk it out. I do that. I talk way too much in improv because I'm thinking it out loud. It's something that I consistently try to work on. I think there's an interesting thing that we've been talking a lot about scenes as in like what feels like the role play scenes. When sometimes a scene can be, I want to pick the lock.
Yeah.
And so if the GM is asking, what are you trying to do? They might be trying to say, they're trying to lead you towards a role.
Towards a more instrumental goal.
Yeah, like what mechanically are you trying to do? What role are you doing right now? But yeah, just being told what are you trying to do is like a jarring question if you don't understand what it is that they're asking. You're like, oh, was I doing something wrong? I was trying to have fun.
It felt like it was like you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Get with the program. And in retrospect, I think it was he wanted something instrumental from me.
Yeah.
And I was doing something much more kind of vibey and character based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's certainly better ways to word it, but there's nothing wrong if you both know what that means of what are you trying to do. Oftentimes that means mechanically where we go. Are you trying to roll dice?
Right.
You know, what is the objective? Are you trying to pick the lock or are you trying to pick a fight?
And genre sometimes has an impact on what those objectives even look like, right? If I'm playing, a Mexican telenovela game like Pasiones or something, then the objectives are going to be, make emotionally messy, poor judgments.
Yeah.
And find your evil twin and come back from the dead, whatever it might be,
Yeah, I want to stare out the window longingly and shake my fist at the moon.
Exactly.
Duh.
That's my
obvious.
objective.
You're never going to fail to pick the lock in Pasión de las Pasiones.
Yeah.
It's just what's behind the door that's going to, that's going to change.
Exactly.
What shocking thing is revealed. Yes.
Yeah.
I've spoken on this show, maybe ad nauseum, forgive me, listener, about my experience with ADHD and how that affects my gaming. And I definitely, it's bringing up for me this sort of anxiety and pressure that I sometimes feel of like, I need to make something happen in this scene. I need to justify this scene taking place. And I know that I have a tendency to make wild offers when I'm feeling that way, to like really, really sort of take this scene on some kind of jag and introduce a bomb, to put a bomb into the scene. It's something that I'm trying to, not necessarily to tamp down, but just to be more aware of when I'm doing it, because it's motivated by that anxiety of like, I need to like make sure that this is worthwhile, that it's that it's happening right now. It's probably okay for me to just say and scene, instead of playing. This is a real anecdote. Playing Fiasco with the Antarctica research base
the ice.
thing,
Yeah,
and having all of this like love triangle stuff that just like kind of wasn't going anywhere, and just introducing right before this kind of like what is it called in Fiasco, the sort of midpoint, the tilt, yeah, the sort of midpoint of the story where things start to really go wrong, introducing like, oh, there's like ancient aliens under this ice that have just been frozen here for 100,000 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's Fiasco, it's the ice, it's not wrong.
I don't think that's what the other players had signed up for.
Okay, yeah.
And I was
fair.
feeling the urge to like make something
Like a
happen.
grand gesture.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like a lot of times, we want to know how to do this thing right. And we're like, what are the steps? Like Lindy, which I also am very bad at, but I love doing. It's so fun. I love being spun around too much. It's great. I think that too often, just as gamers, we're trying to figure out like what's the equation, and it's the same with improv of like how do I do this perfectly and funny the first time, and it's like, well, you just have to do it a lot and be okay with it being messy and imperfect. Just try to listen and remember what people are saying and be excited and, try to build this thing together, and then it'll happen. And it's really okay if it's not perfect. I feel like maybe Like maybe the internet's a bad thing. Maybe we don't need to be watching so many APs of professional actors doing an amazing job.
Because they've trained 25 years of their life to do this.
Yeah, because they're trained professional voice actors and they can do great things. And maybe that is like setting a bar that needn't be there. And I worry that maybe too much AP is giving people the wrong idea of what a game has to be in order to have fun. Just like Instagram is everybody's like perfectly curated life. And you're like, I don't have a perfectly curated life. Well, neither do they, but that's not the photos they're showing you.
You may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife. And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
Yeah, and I feel the operative word there is has to be as opposed to could be. Not that I think that there's like improv or tabletop gaming, like my brain went to like Little League here, like here's where to start. Here's your sort of like first steps. Just as you say, there's not really a manual, but just having the knowledge that it can be developed over time as opposed to I have to be on from the jump is really. I've played with some of the people that I think have fallen victim to this phenomenon that you're describing, Karen, and
it's so much pressure.
Yeah, it's really a lot of pressure.
Honestly, sometimes I think like, oh, maybe it'd be fun to do streaming, and I'm like, no, it wouldn't. I don't want to do that. I don't want the pressure. I already perform in front of an audience in one of my hobbies. I don't need it in both. I love that, unlike improv, I can drop out of character and talk about things and set up scenes. And so I think that's probably why I do so much of it, is because I have the opportunity to. I love setting up scenes and saying, I would like to have a scene where this happens, but I'm not sure how to get there. Or my character, I'm not the most eloquent person, but my character has a diplomacy of 20. So I want them to say something that's really good. I don't know what that'll be, but here's what I would like the outcome to be. And we just kind of fudge the middle parts. If I say like, I can't actually role play this.
Well, that's great because you're making a wish for wishes there in that you are making the offer to the other players. You are inviting them to make offers of their own. I want to get from A to B. How can I get there? What's the word that I'm looking for here? My brain is only giving me like biblical imagery of like, instead of fishing for fishes, you're fishing, I'll make you fishers of men, like making offers of offers is, leads to a very fractal and fun, good time, I think.
Yeah. Cause I'm focusing on the objective. So I might say like, what is something that would really hurt your character's feelings for me to say? I want to hurt your character's feelings. That's my objective. I could come up with something, but this person that knows their character is going to have a better idea. Or what is something that would be, it doesn't have to be mean. What's something that would reassure this character right now? I want to be able to calm them down. If we're in like a high tense situation, like what would help them focus right now? Because that's my objective, but I'm not quite sure how to get there.
Those seem like such great questions from a writer's room perspective, but just from a scene management perspective, like, well, to get under your skin, but also what would reassure your character right now, because that's the impulse. So you're asking that person to like just open up about their characterization, and really it's another way of being a fan of the character. You want to know what will tick them off or what will reassure them, and you're inviting them to share that with you. That seems so generous.
Even if you already have a pretty good idea of what the answer is going to be.
So
we know that this series is going to be a series. We're going to be talking about.
We're not going to finish the topic today. No, we're not.
There's so much.
Yeah. And we want to be respectful of your time. We tend to end the episodes with a little closing segment we call a Pearl of Wisdom. And there's been plenty of pearls already. And maybe you just want, it can be kind of to underline something that we've already said, but maybe there's something else. Like if I were a player that really wants to develop my skill or my capacity for giving and receiving offers, what's a piece of advice that you might give them?
I mean, I think I definitely dropped this already because it's so good, which is give offers you think others would be excited to say yes to.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that, have an open mind and enthusiasm to hear those offers from others with the assumption that they are excited to share it and they think that you're going to like it. So both of those things have to happen.
Great advice. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Karen, for being with us. It's been a delightful conversation.
It's been a real treat.
Yeah. And it's stimulating so many further questions that we'll have to deal with in future episodes, Ian, and maybe have to have Karen back sometime.
Sure. Yeah.
If you would like to come back on the show, we'll have you anytime.
We'd love to have you.
Absolutely.
And we also want to make a plug for Karen. If you need an editor or a custom improv workshop or just someone to ask questions about on either topic, we will put Karen's contact information in the show notes, and you can reach out to her on Blue Sky or TikTok.
Yeah, I'm on social media, but either I'm on Blue Sky kind of shitposting, or on TikTok, I run a bizarre daily game that I used to run on Twitter that I moved over there. So I don't talk much about improv or TTRPGs on either of those. If you're looking for wisdom, that's not, I don't do that on social media. I don't put anything on social media I don't want read back to me at court. So.
Good policy. Another pearl of wisdom.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, gamers, and thanks for listening to A Different Kind of Hex. We've got some great episodes coming in the next couple of months, so keep an eye out for that, including Showing and Telling with Shane and Developing at Your Table with Danny. Karen can be found at Karen12s.com, and you can pick up her book at improvforgamers.com. The Open Hearth can be found at openhearthgaming.com, where you can sign up for the free month-long Mecha March event. We can be found at a different hex at gmail.com. Please do reach out. And the music for the show can be found at lloydeves.bandcamp.com with an assist this episode from Kermit the Frog and the Electric Mayhem. Play on, gamers. We'll catch you in the next one. Karen 12 said, don't talk to the cops.
Yeah.
Don't talk to the cops.
Don't talk to cops. This is good pearls of wisdom.
Yeah.
I'll edit that one out so that it can't be read back to you in court.
Thank you.